What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After, Season 8, Episode 11, Weeping Beauty. So let's get into Angela and Michael. So Angela is waiting for Michael to be done with his interview at the embassy, and she's waiting for him at this small cafe. So she's outside and she wants to get the waiter's attention, and instead of just saying, "Excuse me, pardon me, sir," she's hissing at the waiter. She's like, "Psst, psst," hissing at him to get his attention. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, you're so unmannered, Angela. You are so unmannered. No manners, no couth, no nothing. So she orders a beer. By the way, when the waiter did come to her table, she starts going into all of her relationship issues with Michael and the fact that she doesn't understand why he can't be approved for his visa. I mean, going into all of this stuff. And I'm like, girl, don't nobody want to hear about that. We're watching this show because we're interested in international relationships. And even we don't want to hear all this stuff that you're saying to the waiter. So she orders her damn beer. Okay, fine. So she's waiting anxiously for Michael to show up for, from his embassy interview or his immigration interview for his visa. And so he finally shows up like an hour later, and he's trying to explain to her what happened at the embassy. And because he didn't come right out and say, "I was approved," she just started having a breakdown. She was hyperventilating. She was bending over. She wouldn't let him speak. Every time he tried to complete a sentence, she would cut him off, because she expected him to come right out and say, either yay or nay on his approval. But he had to explain to her that it wasn't as simple and it wasn't as cut and dry as just saying yes or no. So as he's trying to explain, like I said, she was interrupting him. She was doing the most. And from what I could gather, I had to put the pieces together because she didn't let him talk, is that when he went there for his interview, they wanted to know why he had been denied previously. And he said he didn't know. Then they asked him why was his case moved from one city to another. And he said because of the backlog. So when he said that, she got even more upset because she said that, well, you told me that your case was moved because, the immigration or the embassy or the government or whoever moved your case. Now I'm finding out that you moved your case yourself from one city to the next. And then she got mad at him, saying that this is what I don't like about you, Michael, because I find out things from you, like eventually. You don't tell me up front. You don't tell me when things are going down. You end up telling me like way after the fact. I find out way after the fact. So then she calls him an SOB. Whatever document that he was holding in his hand, she grabbed it from him and threatened to tear it up. And her whole thing was, I don't understand why this is so difficult. Other people have been approved in much quicker time than this. I don't know. She thinks that he's doing something or that the government is doing something. I don't know what she's thinking or what her theory is or why he keeps getting denied. But she's very frustrated because she's thinking that he should have already been approved by now. And he tries to explain to her that it's not over yet. We are still in the game because the embassy consular told Michael that, hey, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to help you out, to try to get your approval. And that's all he was really trying to tell Angela. Like, look, I didn't get my approval right away, but it's not over. I was not denied. So we still have hope. But, Angela was too much into the dramatics to really listen to him. And I'm thinking to myself, Michael, just like the way I had asked Liz the other day, please name me 3 things that you find so irresistible about Ed. What I want to know from Michael, what is it about this woman that makes you want to leave everything that you've known and loved in Nigeria to come to Hazelhurst, Georgia, and to live with her and all of her 35 grandkids and her daughter? Like, what about that life do you find so attractive? What is it about this Hazelhurst lifestyle that you're like really drawn to? That's really what I want to know from Michael. And also the fact that, I feel like in my heart and the deepest part of my soul, I think that Michael is with Angela for immigration purposes. I refuse to believe that this man loves this woman. I refuse to believe that this man actually sees himself staying with this woman until the end of his life. I refuse to believe that he's with her for any type of romantic notion or romantic reasons or romantic feelings. I think that Michael is with her simply for green card purposes. I think that when he had reached out to her, on whenever he slid into her DMs or whatever the hell he did to get her attention in the very beginning of their relationship, he saw her as an easy target, you know, to use this American woman at the time, you know, she was overweight, to use this overweight American woman, this old overweight American woman, for purposes of getting a visa. And so I think that, you know, Michael has a plan to come to America and then to ditch Angela at some point. So that to me makes more sense, because Angela is just not right. She's just not normal. She's not okay in the head. So I can't imagine anybody wanting to be with her, you know, for the rest of their lives. I just can't imagine it. So the only thing that I can think of is that he's with her for immigration purposes. That's the only thing that makes sense. And if he really does have feelings for this woman, then I need him to answer my questions. What is it about the Hazelhurst, Georgia lifestyle that this woman is wanting to give you? What is it about that you find so attractive, that is making you want to leave your home, your family, your friends, everything you've ever known, to come live with her in the sticks in Hazelhurst, Georgia? Moving on to Jasmine and Gino. So they're at the gym, they're working out. I guess Jasmine's trying to get really toned up for her pageant, her beauty, I don't even know the name of the pageant, her beauty queen pageant. And so Jasmine tells Gino that the pageant people contacted her and told her that Gino had yet to pay the pageant fees. And so she's like, Gino, why haven't you paid the fees? And Gino tells her, well, I had to pay for your immigration, this, that, or the other. I didn't have enough money. And so then she says to him, Gino, why don't you just go back to work? You need to go back to work, because you could be making thousands and thousands of dollars instead of, you know, trying to budget whatever you got left in your retirement. You can just, you know, be making money all the time. So, you know, you're an engineer, you can make a really good income. I need you to go back to work. So for whatever reason, and then she says, this is what I thought was funny. Then she says to Gino, you know, you only quit your job because you wanted to play fantasy football. She says you only quit your job because you wanted to play fantasy football, and you see where that's gotten you. Okay, fine. So Gino wants to all of a sudden he says he's going to try to make it work. He's going to try to find the money to pay for her pageant fees. And so then Gino wants to leave the gym early. She said that she had 45 minutes left to do for her cardio, but he wants to leave right then and there. So this is when she starts this whole thing about how Gino is trying to control every aspect of her life. If Gino wants to leave the gym early, she has to go with him because she can't drive. She doesn't have a car, so she has to go with him. Whenever he's ready to go, she's got to go with him. And so she starts talking about how he's controlling ever since I came to the United States. You know, he's been, you know, super duper controlling. I can't do anything without him. He has to partake in every tiny part of my life. And, you know, and she just goes on and on about that. Okay. So then when they leave the gym, he wants to stop by the smoothie place to get a smoothie. He says he's hungry, he hasn't eaten all day, he wants a smoothie. And so then Jasmine tells him, so we have time to get a smoothie, but there was no time for me to finish my workout. And Gino's like, well, I'm hungry. I had to leave. I'm hungry. I'm starving. So they go to the smoothie place or order their smoothies. She thinks that they're going to go back into the car and continue their journey on home. But Gino wants to sit and have a smoothie at the smoothie place. And so then she gets upset about that. So she says, I thought you needed to leave the gym because you had to be home right away. You said you had things to do. So why are we still here at the smoothie place? So then they start arguing again. So then she tells him, no, she throws in his face, you're just trying to control me. You're probably trying to sabotage my plans to be in this beauty pageant, you know, because you don't want me to work out at the gym. And she goes on and on. So they start arguing. They have this big blowout argument right there in the parking place of this smoothie place. So she brings up the whole thing about you're controlling me. I can't do anything without you. I have no say so in my own life, etc., etc. And she ends up throwing the smoothie at him and the shoes that she was wearing. So the Nikes that she had on, she took them off and she threw them at him. And then she says, I'm going to walk home barefoot. And I'm literally like, what in the world just happened? You're like, what in the world just happened? Now, granted, when Gino wanted to leave the gym, he acted like it was an emergency and he had to leave right then and there. But then he wants to mosey on along at the smoothie place to have a couple of smoothies, and he actually wants to sit there and have the smoothie. So what was the emergency? I didn't understand. So all I know about Jasmine and Gino is that, you know, Jasmine will create fights. I don't know if she's doing it for the cameras. I don't know if she's really upset with this man, with the things that she's yelling at him for. But she'll create these arguments and create these fights. And then the next time we see them, they're getting along and everything is wonderful and beautiful again. I've always said this. It's a very cyclical thing with them. It's a never-ending cycle with how they operate with their relationship. They have these blowout fights, then they make up and everything is wonderful. Then they fight again, then they make up and everything is wonderful. So I really don't care about what they're arguing about. I really don't care about her talking about Gino wanting to control her life. It doesn't really matter to me. I have nothing really. I have no commentary on Gino and Jasmine. Zippo, none. It's just always going to be the same thing with them. Moving on to Emily and Kobe. So Emily and Kobe, we are still at the place where Kobe's family is explaining to Emily's family how Emily is going to be our property now. We're going to have full control of her. If she dies, her body's going to have to come back to Nigeria and we'll bury her here. And of course, her parents are freaking out and they're like, oh my God, absolutely not. Our daughter cannot be anybody's property. No, we don't agree with this. We're not comfortable with this. And so then Kobe has to break it down, because when Kobe heard his uncle say the word property, that Emily was going to be their property, Kobe in his mind was like, oh no, this is about to go from bad to worse, because he knows exactly how his in-laws are. So then he kind of breaks it down to them, explaining to them that, you know, we're responsible for Emily. It's not like we're owning her or we're going to try to control her and she's our property. My uncle is just trying to say that we are now responsible for Emily. She's our responsibility now. And then he explains, you know, she will still have her own voice. She'll still be able to make her own decisions. We're not going to be controlling her or anything like that. Things will go on business as usual with Emily. We're not trying to control her and stifle her and quiet her or nothing like that. So then when he broke it down to her parents felt better about it. And Emily's mom said, you know, it took us years and years and years for women to finally have their own, to be treated as equals, to fight for equality. And you're telling me that my daughter's going to be your property now. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned about that. So Kobe broke it down. The family felt better about it. And so then it was time for the bride price and the dowry. Okay, fine. They do that whole thing. Then they bring out the food for dinner, and, everybody says this was the best, whatever she cooked, whatever that was, traditional meal that was. Everybody was like, oh my God, this is the best we've ever had. This is so delicious. You did such a great job, Emily. Everybody was really happy. If it really was as delicious as it was, I'm happy that they were impressed with the cooking. My only concern was that the sister, Kobe's sister, who helped her with the meal, got no credit. That was my only issue with that. Moving on from there. So the family has accepted Emily. They're okay with them getting married, you know, having the second wedding. They're okay with that. They've accepted her as Kobe's wife. Wonderful. Congratulations. Then the next time that we see Emily and Kobe, I guess it's later on that night, they're talking in the kitchen. And for whatever strange, crazy, absurd, illogical reason, Emily brings up Kobe's ex-girlfriend. And she says this has been bothering her for a while. And she tells Kobe, I want to meet her. And Kobe's like, what? For what? And she says, I need to know. I want to meet her, and I want to meet her in person. And she tells us in her confessional the reason why is because she wants to know exactly when they broke up. She wants to know if there was like an overlapping when he began talking to her and when he was ending things with the ex. She wants to know if there was like, you know, overlapping, like if he was seeing both of them at the same time. So she tells Kobe, you're going to let her know, send her a message that you're going to be meeting with her. And Kobe pulls out his phone, you know, like a good little Kobe. He pulls out his phone and he begins texting the ex to let them know that, you know, him and his wife want to meet with him. It's just so, I mean, I think this season of 90 Day Fiance, they are so seriously trying to like make something, a whole lot of something out of a whole lot of nothing. Like Jasmine and Gino fighting over Gino controlling Jasmine as if he ever could. Emily and Kobe, you know, with this whole traditional thing about about the ancestors wanting to accept Emily and the bride's price and the dowry. It's just, what are we doing? And now Emily bringing up the fact that she wants to meet his ex to find out when exactly, Kobe ended things with her. What does any of this matter with what we're trying to do right here and now? What does it matter? What does it matter? I just, it's, watching this show is just, you know what? Let me just try to keep it positive. It was great that Emily went to Nigeria. It was great that Emily got to experience, that her and her parents got to experience Kobe's culture, Kobe's country, met his family. It was wonderful that they took the children, even though they may not remember it later. It was wonderful that they took the children to meet the other side of their family, to meet their paternal grandfather and their uncles and aunts and all of that. That was a very beautiful thing. So that, at least we got that out of this. But all this other stuff, y'all, zero interest. Zero interest. Let's keep this show going and let's talk about Ashley and Manuel. This review is about to go from bad to worse. Ashley and Manuel. So they are back in Rochester, and they both tell us that things have gotten a whole lot worse between them since returning back home to Rochester. So when we see Ashley, she is getting an infusion or an IVF type of, not IVF, Lord have mercy. She's having an IV infusion at her cousin's infusion place. And she calls it her witch potion. So she explains to her cousin that things have gotten a whole lot worse between her and Manuel. Ashley tells her cousin that the other day, Manuel had demanded her to give him $1,000 to send to his family. The cousin asked her, how much have you sent over there? And Ashley says, I've sent like thousands and thousands of dollars to his family. So the cousin is shocked and surprised about that. So then the cousin kind of questions, is this money really going to his family? Like, what's really going on here? And so then Ashley explains that in the beginning, we would send $200 per month, but lately he's been wanting me to give him more money to send over to his family. So the cousin is like creating all of this doubt and suspicion in Ashley, like, you need to check out what's happening with your money, like what's really going on. And so then the cousin brings up that Ashley should probably consider getting a post-nup. Instead of, because it's too late to do a prenup. So she tells Ashley, you might want to bring up getting a post-nup to protect your assets. When we hear in the preview for next week's episode that Ashley's $100,000 in debt, I'm like, what assets is she trying to protect? She's $100,000 in the hole. What is she trying to protect? Her debt from him? Anyway. So her cousin says, you need to do this whole post-nup thing. Ashley also explains that the way Manuel is treating her is very triggering for her because it reminds her of her father. She says that, growing up, she didn't know who her father was or didn't have a relationship with him. She met him later on in life because her parents or her mother was a teenager when she got pregnant with Ashley. So she really didn't know her father. She met him later on in life. And I guess right when they were beginning to have a relationship or something, her father ended up ending his own life. And so that really, troubled her, as of course it would trouble anybody. And she says that sometimes the way Manuel treats her with all the secrecy and him not wanting to tell her all the things that's going on with him and doing things behind her back really triggers her situation with her father, because her father also had a lot of secrets. Okay, so we know that about Ashley. So then later on, she meets up with Manuel. They meet up at a restaurant. And the first thing that he asks her is, how much was your infusion? And she said it was only like $50. And I was like, Manuel, you've got some nerve to ask her how much anything that she spends costs, because you're not contributing anything financially. Okay, it's none of your business really how much her infusion. And he was asking because, we know that Manuel has an issue with how much money Ashley spends on things that he deems unnecessary. which is crazy. This is her money. She can blow her money, spend her money on anything that she wants. Okay, as long as you're being fed and you have a roof over your head and a bed to lay down in, you really have nothing to worry about, Manuel, until you start making your own money. But anyways, he asked her how much it cost. She told him it only cost $50. And then she brings up the post-nup to him. And he's like, so you think I'm after you for your money? And he's like, you know what, Ash, let me break it down to you real quick. I married you because I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to have a family with you. That's why I married you. I didn't marry you for your I didn't marry you for your money. I didn't marry you for your business or none of that stuff. I'm not that kind of person. So she's like, okay, do you still want to go see a lawyer with me so we can talk about the post-nup? She wasn't going to be swayed at all. And so he's like, whatever, it's your world. I'm just living in it. Yeah, we'll go see an attorney. Whatever you want to do, Ashley, that's fine. So he goes ahead and he relents and he agrees to go see the attorney. He wasn't happy about it. He wasn't happy about the post-nup at all. But, you know, what are you going to do? And what are you going to say? Moving on to Ed and Liz. So Ed is telling us that he has been very lonely without Liz, but he still stands firm on his decision to cancel the wedding. He says that he is throwing himself in his new career right now as a real estate agent or a real estate broker. In fact, he's with a real estate agent looking at a house and all of that. So he's really trying to get this real estate career going. I seriously doubt that if Ed comes back for the next season of 90 Day Fiance, I kind of guarantee that he's not going to be doing this real estate business. But whatever. So he talks about that he's hoping to find someone new. He's looking forward to starting a new relationship with a new person. And I'm beginning to think that maybe he broke up with Liz because Liz was reaching her expiration date. You know, Ed likes them really, really, really young, so he can easily manipulate them. And maybe Liz was getting too old and too wise, and he realized he couldn't control her or manipulate her anymore. So maybe he's just going to go look for a younger model now. So we see Liz, she's on the phone. Oh, no, Liz is at the airport with her daughter Riley, and she's sending Riley off to her father who lives in another country. I don't know what that country is because I didn't watch 90 Day Diaries when we first met Liz, however long ago that was. So I'm not really clear on what's going on with Liz and her ex and why the ex lives in another country and why she doesn't have full custody of her daughter. She has her daughter during the summer vacation and some other time, but I'm like, why doesn't Riley live with Liz full time? Anyways, so she's at the airport to send her daughter off to her father's. And on her way from the airport, she's talking on the phone with her mom, and she starts crying and saying that if only she would have known how things were going to end up with Ed, she never would have introduced Riley to Ed or brought Riley into this whole mess with Ed. She would have protected her daughter from it. You know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's a good lesson learned, Liz. I don't know what to tell you. It's a good lesson learned. But like, Liz, I'm still waiting for you to answer my question. What is it about Ed that drew you to him and that's making you cry like this about the breakup? Because, honey, I don't see it. Moving on to Thais and Patrick. So John, Patrick's brother, has arrived in Brazil. And so Patrick has left Thais at the apartment so he can go spend time with his brother. Picks up his brother from the airport. They go to a bar. They have a couple of beers. And it's also Thais' birthday, by the way. Let's not forget that. So Patrick tells John about what went down with Thais' father and how the father was expecting Patrick to ask him for his blessings in marrying his daughter, even though they're already married. And even though they're already married, the father felt like, I still need to give you my blessings for this marriage, and you still need to ask for those blessings. But Patrick refused to do that, and instead he told the father, I'd rather earn your respect than ask for your blessing. And so he tells his brother about all of this, and John was really proud that Patrick did not, kiss the ring, as they say, and stood his ground about wanting to earn his father-in-law's respect. So then they talk about Patrick's own father and how his father, as soon as he saw his dad in Brazil, his dad wanted to put him to work. and told him, this apartment that you're staying in, I want you to paint it. You know, I want you to clean it up. I want you to fix it up, blah, blah, blah. And so John was like, you know, your father really wasn't all that. Okay. He was an absent father for most of our childhood. And this is Patrick's biological father, but John's stepfather. And so he talks about, you know, your father really wasn't all that. You should not feel like you owe him anything. You shouldn't have any kind of guilt towards him because he wasn't father of the year. He was absent when you were growing up. And now that y'all have, you know, rekindled y'all's relationship, he's taking advantage of you. And Patrick is like, well, you know, that's my dad and I love him. And, you know, the past is the past and I love my dad. And so he can basically do no wrong in my eyes. And John doesn't understand that. And so Patrick tells John that Thais feels the same way, that his father is taking advantage of him. So John is like, you know what? I might use that. The fact that me and Thais both agree on how your father is, maybe that's going to help me and Thais bond. Maybe they'll help us bond and become better friends because we both don't really see it for your dad. They go back to the apartment. Thais is really upset that John is there. She's even more upset when they tell her that John's going to be spending 2 days with them. So Thais, her whole entire birthday has been ruined. Patrick didn't ask for her father's blessing. John now has invaded her territory. Thais is not a happy camper. Let's move on from there and talk about Lauren and Alexi. Lauren is finally home. So she's finally back home. When she comes home, her mother's there. And Lauren mentions to her mom that she doesn't have the double chin anymore. And her mom was like, I didn't think you had a double chin to begin with. I never knew you had a double chin, so I don't know what you want me to say. I didn't know either. I couldn't tell that she had a double chin, but, you know, whatever. So Alexi brings the children to come, you know, reunite with their mother. Lauren is very emotional because she can't, you know, hug and pick up her kids the way she wants to. And, you know, that's really hard for her. So then later on, they're all having dinner. It's Lauren, Alexi, Alexi's father, and Lauren's parents. And as they're having dinner, Lauren tells the family that she didn't expect her recovery to be as difficult as it is. And she says that the only thing that kind of keeps her motivated, that keeps her going during this really difficult time, is knowing how wonderful she's going to look afterwards. When the dust is settled and her body has done what it's supposed to do, that's what's keeping her motivated. That's helping her stay positive, thinking about how great she's going to look after everything is said and done. So her mom had mentioned that, you know, it's the holidays, your father-in-law is here, plus you have 3 kids that need your attention, and you can't enjoy yourself, you can't do much of anything. And Lauren is like, I know, I get it, I understand, but this is what I chose to do for myself. And her mom was like, well, if you chose to do this, don't complain afterwards. And I was like, damn, wow. I remember her mom being kind of tough and difficult, but I forgot exactly how tough and difficult she was. So Lauren was like, I'm going back to bed. And so she left and she went back to bed, y'all. And that's my review. It's just was like I said, you know, just a bunch of nothing. Nothing really happened this week. I don't want to waste any more of y'all's time like the way this show wasted mine. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.